All right. It's 10 o'clock on Wednesday, so you know it's fireside chat with the experts. Today, I have the pleasure to chat with a colleague and good friend of mine, our VP of Customer Care, Dave Phillips. Dave, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so very few people know, Dave, that you had a very special onboarding process at Creative Electron, right? Think you're one of the few guys, if not the only guy, who started working, 5 minutes after interview? Is that who it was?
Pretty close. Yeah, I think it was pretty much. And then you'd given me access, and I got my emails. Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, it was a fast onboarding
All
process.
right, you can do the job. Here we go. And also
2016.
you started the job with a full inbox, right?
I did after Griffin, our COO, had forwarded me all of the emails that he had received.
There you go. Right.
There you go.
Cool. So, Dave, today I want to talk to you about something that you are very familiar with. You know, that's what you deal with on a daily basis for the past several years, which is the difference between a used X-ray machine and a refurb X-ray machine, right? Of refurbished, manufactured refurbished. You know, because a lot of times, you know, like you see car commercials, right? You can buy a certified refurb or certified used machine, and a lot of people think that's just marketing BS from companies, right? And so I wanted to explore with you, you know, what are the pitfalls, right? What are the challenges and the risks, right, that people can have if they just pick up a used X-ray machine on eBay, which no question about is going to be cheaper than a refurb system, right? But what are the trade-offs there?
Yeah, so I mean, you know, I don't hate to do it, but the car dealer model has gotten a bad rap, or they've had a bad reputation for a long time, and but basically our business model is very similar in the same thing, where you have new machines, we have used refurbished machines, and then you have the open market, just like a car dealer. So the advantage of having what we talk about, like that realm, we have a used machine, somebody has it listed on eBay, a business went out of business, or and a broker bought it, or they're selling it privately, they don't have a use for it. So the pitfalls are just like the caveat emptor, buyer beware. You have no idea unless there's documentation to back this up that it's been serviced. It'd be like going down to the used car lot and well, actually buying it from a private party to start out with, and you don't have an idea if it's been serviced correctly. Maybe it broke down yesterday, right? It's very, there could be a lot of issues with the system. And then alternatively, the system could be in great shape. But like you said, you really don't know in that situation. Then I guess you go to the next level, where we go to say a broker got a hold of it and he bought a lot of an SMT line. That broker usually has no idea. He's bought, everything at pennies on the dollar. If the business was going out of business, maybe we'd say that we don't know how the equipment was maintained on that, and where was it transferred to, what condition is it now, as it how used is it, and what year it is. And the broker's main crux is to get rid of it at a highest profit they can, or auction it off on that. Then we go to the scenario where maybe, like I said, a business is selling it, or you go to the scenario, the best case scenario, just like a certified, you go to a dealer that's familiar with it and that has refurbished the system. So either as Creative Electron, we've taken it in on trade for a new system. It's available, and we've gone through the system and make sure it works to specifications, you know, just like you'd check the engine component. So we check the X-ray source. Does the X-ray source need to be replaced? Do we need to check the detector, which is basically the transmission, make sure that detector is working properly, the imaging system, the camera, and then we also, on all of our refurbished systems, we're using the TrueView image processor. So we're upgrading to a Windows 10 image processor. Then the big thing is you have the original equipment manufacturer giving you a warranty and giving you a guarantee that that works, that system works and it's certified, and that we're installing it. So it's just like going to your Toyota dealer. I always like to use with the focal spot or the verifiers of the TrueView. It's your Camry that might have had, somebody turned it in or a lease return, and they've gone through and actually checked everything to make sure it is in proper condition. And now they can give a warranty because they can certify it. So I think it's a really valid point. I wouldn't go out and necessarily, unless I knew the person and knew to purchase something without documentation that's been serviced, that it's been properly maintained.
Yeah, and what's also interesting is that oftentimes these machines that we take as trades, right, are current customers that we've been servicing them for a while. So we already have a long history with these machines, right? We know how long, what kind of usage the X-ray source has, what kind of usage the detector has. We know what problems they had, if they had a new detector replaced recently, right, or damaged, so we can assess, because it's our reputation on the line, right? We don't want to go ahead and sell a refurb machine that's going to break in a month. Doesn't help us at all. Most of our business is referral based, right? So we want to make our customer happy so they can refer to their friends and families, right? And we can keep selling machines. So it's it reminds me of that. I'm sure you remember we had a customer who bought, he had they had our systems, more than two systems, and they decided to buy an extra machine online, not ours, from another manufacturer. So they bought on one of these online websites, and when our team went there to do the preventive maintenance, right, the inspection, a big chunk of the PM is safety, right? Make sure the interlocks are properly installed, properly operating, and make sure there's no leakage coming out of the machine. And we found out that the glass window from that machine was leaking like a sieve, right? And we came to find that at some point in the history of that X-ray system, the lead glass broke, right? And was replaced by nothing but a piece of acrylic from Home Depot, causing a tremendous amount of leakage through the front window. Now, who knows how long that machine had been leaking like that? We don't know, because we don't know the history, right? All we know is that the company bought the machine online, plug it into the wall, and used it, right? Fortunately, they didn't use it for long before we were able to find the extra leakage the machine was creating. But it's a risk, right? It's one of those things where it's almost like buying a car with no brakes, right? You got to make sure that all these things, that the interlocks work. What does it mean the interlocks don't work? It means that you can open the door and the X-ray source is going to be on, right? And so we do this for a living, right? And either brokers or online sellers, they they're not doing anything wrong, right? They're not. They most of the time they are representing the product they're selling to the extent of their ability, meaning that last time I touched it, it worked, right? Take it as is and run with it. So it's um, I think it's important, to take that extra step and and find out if the system is actually operating, or if you're buying a very expensive bolt anchor, right?
Well, and think of this, Bill. I think the other thing we can think of it this way with a refurbished system, it's like and I think maybe everybody that's on the thing, they're familiar with a used car with those Carfax reports.
Yeah.
So they come to us, we have the Carfax report and when it was
Good point.
serviced, and then we have a report once it's refurbished and what we did to it
Yeah.
on that. So I mean that makes a huge difference in that.
But why are refurb systems more expensive? What do you tell people who say, "Hey, I can find this for $5,000 less at
Yeah, $4,500.
eBay. Why should I buy from you?"
Right, because again, why the point of this a refurbished system is usually what we see in these refurbished systems a lot of times is that either the X-ray source, which is the engine, or the detector is close to its end of life. So we may need to replace those most likely, and especially the X-ray source, which is, as I equate that, is a light bulb, right?
Yeah.
And it burns out, and it's had so many hours. So it's your Camry with, 400,000 miles on it. The body and everything, the integrity of the frame and the system may be fine. This is a lead cabinet, but the X-ray source may not have a lot of hours left on it. Or, as we use our tools as our line pair gauge for resolution, and we're checking those systems, we find that the resolution isn't up to par. And especially in that, and by replacing the X-ray source, that's 90% of, fixing the issue on that. So, and that's one of the major expenses in that X-ray system.
No, you talked about upgrading the computer, right? Of
Yes.
the of the system. Do you find that, let's say you buy a machine from another manufacturer, do you find the cost, the cost to transfer a software license, for example, or to even buy a license if the computer dies, right? Let's say you buy a machine with a Windows 2000 computer. The
Right.
computer dies. What do you do with the machine?
Well, so the nice thing is what we have the ability, not only if somebody bought another system, we have the ability to sell the image processor as a standalone for X-ray systems. So you can get a Windows 10 with our TrueView image processor and use that, and that has a license for that software, just like you have a license for Windows. So you can create, have a networkable PC and an image processor with the latest and greatest operating system that is able to network and keep your IT happy.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and we also know of companies out there that actually charge quite a bit of X-ray companies that charge quite a bit of money to transfer ownership of the system.
Absolutely, up to up to $15,000 before they even look at the machine.
Yeah,
and decide.
And that's not a cost that you necessarily know about when you're buying that machine, right? That's all the tricky parts, right?
And as a caveat emptor, the buyer beware, and keep in mind that license transfer fee, once they do that, and then now you might have where you have a system that you may have to spend $15,000 or $20,000 for a power supply, a new X-ray source, up to $50,000 depending on what type of system. So that bargain system becomes a very expensive system and a heavy boat anchor, and you have
Yeah.
to decide how much you're willing. Are you going to cut your losses?
Yeah.
And hopefully the initial investment wasn't that big, and that's why again, like I said, a refurbished or certified system knows that you have some peace of mind in that sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
or
So
a lot of peace of mind.
a lot of peace of mind. Well, you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
somebody to call if something goes wrong, right?
yes, absolutely. Yeah, you say, yeah, they're familiar. Where a broker's going to say, hey, or especially an auction house where you pick it up, it's like you're going to have to get your own company. Say you're in California, you have to pick it up in Ohio. Well, now you're going to have to get a shipper. It's an LTL carrier. Now, maybe the system did work. But if
Yeah.
you don't create it correctly, it may
Yeah.
not work so well when you get it on that. And I have seen Bill numerous, and you can just do searches where these brokers contact me and ask me for information, and they say the system works. And the only thing they're going on is they showed me that the PC turned on and that they had a power light on the actual X-ray system, but they never say anything about. I said, well, do you see can you show me a live X-ray image? And they haven't plugged that things in. All they've done is plug two separate things in and told me that. And it's like 9 times out of 10 if it's a very old system, there's something wrong with it.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. And that's why they're $3,000, $4,500, $5,000 on that. And
Do
now you have
you
to.
do we have, I mean, there's another question we get from time to time. If you buy a used system, do you still have to register it?
Do you still? Yes, absolutely. It's going to be big. You have to register it based on the state you're in, and then any additional requirements for safety. And you have to have somebody come in and actually check it to make
Mhm.
sure it's safe. You can't just wave your hand in front of it on that. So you need somebody to do a
Mhm.
radiation survey. You need
Mhm.
somebody to do a safety check. Um, and then you need somebody, in California, you need to have your operators trained on that, and then register system, and then show proof of it. We've had where used systems where the state comes in and then shuts it down because they didn't have correct operator training. The interlocks weren't checked annually. There wasn't a radiation safety check. They did not have a radiation safety officer or a program. So there's a huge amount of um, things that need to be done. Yeah, things that need to be done to run it properly. Just like, as I go back to the car, you need to have a driver's license to operate the
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
need to have a license for the car. It needs to be registered, and it's all of
Smog
those.
checks, right?
Yeah, yeah, smog check, absolutely, right.
Yeah.
So it's very similar on that, and as we know, there were you get cars that are not running so great
Yeah.
when you buy them, and the same with X-ray. They might be.
So what's different from the installation process, right? When your team goes to install a new system or goes to install a refurb, are there any differences in the process?
So from a refurb to a new installation, if we've done the refurb, there's really no difference because
So you treat
it's
it as a new
basically a
system.
new
You have
system.
everything, all the process,
Yes,
the loan.
right. So we do a factory acceptance test procedure on a new system, and the same with a refurbished system. So we have that radiation survey, safety interlock survey. System is operating to this specification when somebody purchases it. So the same whether you bought a new or a used system.
Mhm.
Then when then it's delivered, it's obviously crated correctly and transported with insurance.
Yeah.
It makes a difference because we know things happen like that. Then when it's uncrated and when we install it, we do the exact same test procedures over, and then apply that. And then after all of that installation is complete and the system is deemed safe, from being transited and ready, then we do the whole huge thing is we do the operator training and safety on that. So it doesn't change on that, in that respect, whether it's a new or a used system. So you're getting the same service on that.
So can a refurb system be financed just like a new system?
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Through leasing. Yes. Yeah. We have a lot of leasing partners, and then what you can do is you have a set monthly payment, and then you're able to write that off as an operating cost. And then depending on how you structure the lease, what most of the lease I've seen, it's a dollar buyout.
Dollar buyout at the end.
Yeah, at the end. So you own the machine after 2 years, whatever range you have.
And with the interest rates we have nowadays, I mean, historical low interest rates, financing is a reasonable option, I think,
Oh yeah, and then there's
you get to depreciate the whole amount, right, in 1 year.
Right. It's a full, because every month you make that lease payment, it's an operating cost, as opposed to just depreciating the the asset over time when you finance.
You can take the write-off in 1 year, right? So it's be a very interesting
right.
option.
Yeah.
So with with this, with the distinction between a used and a refurb system, is there any circumstances where you would buy a used machine, used X-ray machine specifically?
Is there any? I guess if this was a customer that we had, a customer directly with us that had dealt with us, and then was either doing an upgrade, and that I knew all of the background and lineage of the service on that, and where we were creating another customer for us. Basically where I'd say this customer is selling it to this customer, and we were facilitating that.
Of course.
And then I would say, and say, yes, I can tell you from what we know, that this machine has been serviced this way, and this way, and that, then that we would continue servicing it.
Yeah. Now, share with us, because I know you have to have this tough conversations, right? When somebody buys one of those used systems and they call you and say, "Hey, Dave, come by and check it out and see what a great system I got." And you have to tell them that they have to add an extra 50, 60 grand to get the thing working.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It's like, well, you just try to be as diplomatic as you can say, unfortunately, the system you bought is not what was, either if they told you it was working, it's not representative of what they did, or if they bought it and they had no idea, then the conversation is, unfortunately, this is going to, it's going to need a new X-ray source or a new engine. All right. And it's going to cost this much. And, maybe we talk about, cutting your losses, and then maybe talk about, maybe a new system, or talk about a refurbished system. Yeah. And then, and discuss, that system that they have.
Yeah. Cause we can, and the reason why we take trade-ins, right? Your team supports hundreds and hundreds of systems worldwide, and oftentimes we can take parts, right? And
there's, like I said, maybe that system has some, with us, has some nominal value on that, because we want you to have the be able to do whatever X-ray imaging you're trying to do. So maybe that system that does has a bad X-ray source, we can discuss that it has some nominal value to us, right? And for those parts or something like that. So,
Yeah,
like I
like
said, it's not completely worthless,
yeah.
but
Even
you
if
know,
if the engine is seized, maybe we can use the windshield, right, on a new machine.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's hard when they come off the second rack of a storage facility that we can, if they're, you
Yeah,
know, they look like it's been a total accident. Yeah, and sometimes it's hard to give a nominal value.
yeah. I mean, yeah. X-ray machines do not deal well with free fall, right? They really
No,
don't.
no, no. They're glass in them. But sometimes I'm amazed that the glass is not broken. The rest of the
Exactly.
machine is just trashed. We've seen that too.
We've seen that.
It's like, yeah, you can't, the cabinet has been uh, thoroughly damaged. It's like, well, why didn't the glass break on this
Yeah.
one? Yeah.
Now, what refurb systems do you usually sell nowadays, or do you usually offer?
So the biggest one, I think the biggest one is our focal spot, the Verifier series. Which over 250 or so of those, and I have a picture on the website of one on
Oh, you want to
our
show? Yeah, can you
yeah,
show?
yeah. Let's see. I'll hit share. And there we go. And can you see that one?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, that's one of our, this is the focal spot X-ray system, and this is where I came from before I worked for Bill, was the Verifier X-ray system. And so there's, like I said, 250 plus of these versions out there. And it's a system that fits through a single door. The majority of them were at the time 90 kV systems, but they also came in an 80 kV
Okay.
X-ray source, that the power of the source. They all had two 4-inch image intensifiers, and the majority, like I said, Windows XP and Windows 7. So all of these, we were able to put the Windows 10 on it, on that, and upgrade the image processing and controls through. When we upgrade the source, we can control it through a GUI interface. So, like I said, it's a good way to go, and that's the majority. They're very easy to use. They're very mobile, uh, and they get great imaging and magnifications, and it just brings out more life out of them. They
Yeah,
started 2006 all the way to 2013.
yeah.
So there's another one, an older version, or a flat top, and then we also do the Faxitron CS100s are very popular, and some of our other focal spot, and then we always have our TrueView systems too. Some of the older,
Generations. Yeah.
yeah, reel-to-reel iterations of that. So we have quite a variety of those, and a lot of it that are not shown here, but a lot of the Nicolay systems, they're getting to their 1991 they started, and they're getting to their end of life on those.
There's
And but
quite a few things we can do with the Nicolais, right? I mean, uh,
yeah,
there's a limit of how much you can upgrade those systems, but
right. Oh,
within reason, we can
absolutely,
keep
yeah.
them working, right?
And how much you want to upgrade, or yeah,
Yeah,
there's a limit in how much do you want to put
yeah,
in that 1998 Camry, right? And
yeah.
upgrade
Because
it.
before you know, you're buying a new camera, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you,
Yeah, yeah. Where do you draw the line,
yeah,
right?
and that's
If
one of the conversations you usually have, right, with our
yeah,
customers is, is it worth,
right,
it's one of those things where you are 80, 70, 80%,
right,
of the cost of a brand new machine.
right. Yeah, yeah. I would.
Yeah,
Well, yeah. Is it so? Where do you draw the line, right? And then I go back to the auto analogy. Is it a blown head gasket,
yeah,
or which you're right on the line,
yeah,
right? It's like you have to
yeah,
open the engine up now,
yeah,
or is it replacing a fuel injector? That's
yeah,
that's a little different, right?
yeah,
But as I had a 2003 Camry and got it fixed, it had a blown head gasket. I opened Pandora's box. right?
Yeah, that's the other problem. Yeah.
That's what I tell people. It's like when you start cracking things open on that, it's different. But the nice thing on these with the verifier, you know, it's great thing is, you know, it's an X-ray tube, it's a light bulb, it's sealed,
Yeah.
you know, and they're very reliable. So, and that gets you a 1-year warranty on that part of the of the refurbished X-ray system.
Dave, thanks so much for your time, and I really appreciate
Okay.
you,
Yeah.
taking the half hour to chat with us. That's a question we get a lot. What's the difference between a refurb and a used? Should I buy a used machine out of eBay or, online? Or, should I spend a little bit more and buy a refurb machine or, jump up to a new system? Again, thanks so much. For those of you watching, thanks for joining us today. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another fireside chat with the experts. All right. Have a good week, guys. Bye-bye.
Quay, which one?